What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and it is the big betting show this time around, as a massive week in the world of mixed martial arts is coming up. We have one of the standout UFC pay-per-views of the year, headlining, I suppose, the weekend on Saturday night. There's also a PFL card, which is pretty good. PFL's biggest star, Kayla Harrison, is on that as well. I have one bet from that, and the rest are from the UFC. But a very interesting weekend. Lots to choose from in terms of bets. Lots to choose from in terms of different fighters with different names. This UFC card is an absolute blow-away card, and I'm looking forward to getting into it here, and I'm looking forward to throwing a few of my bets at you. Last week, quick review: Roji Kudo plus 160, Reese McKee plus 170. Got 2 of the 4 bets, and name me, and as I said it, my flyer didn't go. Rakhmonov, he didn't win by decision, and Pam Sorensen, that was a bad pick. A bad pick by me. I said last week it was a field pick. Bad pick. Rakhmonov, he got that late submission. If he hadn't have got that with 2 seconds left, could have gone to decision. I'm happy enough with that pick. I see where I was coming from. I think where I was coming from was right. Magny did show up, but Rakhmonov just kind of showed a different level. But anyway, we 2+ money winners. Whenever you can say that after a weekend, it's not a bad weekend of betting. But when you are betting, please bet responsibly. Don't bet more than you can. Don't go mad with it. Keep it fun. Keep it entertaining. Keep it so that you can enjoy the fights next week as much as you enjoyed the fights this weekend, and that's the way we want to have it. So, bet responsibly. Please do that. Right, let's get on to this weekend's bets, and I'm gonna get my PFL one done first. That card is on Friday night, if I'm not mistaken. So if anyone's tuning in later, maybe you can watch that one, get that bet done if you'd like, and then watch the rest for the UFC show on Saturday. So the first bet I'm going for here, I'm going for the Rory MacDonald versus Sadibou fight to finish under 2.5 rounds, and that's plus 125 in that one. Now, I've done a preview for this card as well, so if you haven't seen that yet, please do check it out, and I'll give a big breakdown of that fight and the other fights on that card as well over there. And the reason I've kind of gone for the under here is we've seen a lot recently in the PFL of the big favourites losing, or the big favourites maybe bouncing back. And Rory MacDonald bounced back in his last fight, won very well after maybe a disappointing enough season last year, where he got the robbery against Sadibou and ended up not losing and not getting to the final, and he bounced back very well. But will it be a case of he keeps bouncing back and he goes and he wins $1 million? Maybe. And if he does that, and if he fights really well, I could see him getting C out of here and below 2.5 rounds, getting the finisher. I could see him doing that. I think if he can get his jab going, if he can get wrestling down through the middle, take him down, I could see a submission. I could see him knocking him out. And I think that is the most likely case. Rory is around minus 300 here, so he's a big favourite. With C around plus 240. But I also I see C, and I see how good he is. This is a guy who is a dangerous fighter. If I watched a good bit of PFL over the last while and seen a good few of his fights, and nobody brings to the party. He is a guy with big knockout power. He's won 6 of his 10 fights by knockout. He's also been finished 3 times out of 6, which is pretty good for this bet as well. Now, over the last few fights, it's been more of a decision type of fight, going to decision with Magomed Karamov and Al-Sakam, but it was a lot of maybe heavy wrestling from those lads as well. But before that, he had loads of finishes, knocked out David Michaud and knocked out Caio Magalesh and others as well. And he has that big power that if Rory isn't on it early and he gets hit hard, he could put Rory out of there. No, Rory's taken a lot of damage down through the years as well, and chins don't hold up forever. So it's not just that I think Rory will have a dominant victory here over C. I also think that C is a very, very good fighter and can land a big shot. And as well, if you're going to be outmatched maybe a little bit at times by Rory, you might be more willing to throw those big shots early and try to get the finish, because if Rory gets you down the first, then the second and the third, it's going to be a very, very long night for you, and you might be kind of wishing I took that chance early. So maybe that's what C will be looking at here and going for it early, which also could lead to Rory going there as well. I think Rory, the difference between, say, the Magomed-Karimov fight, even where it went to decision, I think Rory at times is one of those guys where he gets the fight to the ground and it's all about the finish for Rory. It is all about the finish. Rory is... we all remember that fight against BJ back in the day where it's Rory just is non-stop and he's relentless and he absolutely, is dogged in those positions. Look at his last fight. He choked out Brett Cooper and he choked out Curtis Melinder as well in the first round last year. Those are the type of fights I'm talking about, which I feel like he will attempt to do more. Now it's easier said than done to go out and attempt it grand, but I think he'll attempt to do that more in this sort of fight. Finish it early and be fresh for the semi-finals getting through, because that's a big thing as well. If you've got 15 minutes here and it's a war and you have a cut or you have an injury or something, well, you might even be fighting for $1 million down the line even if you qualify. So that's another thing. Both of these guys, I think, will be looking to get it out of there early, secure their place in the playoffs, and that bet of under 2.5 rounds of plus 125, I like that one. I like that one a lot. Right, my next bet here, let's get to the UFC. I'm going for Sean Strickland, and he is at plus 103 to beat Pereira, Alex Pereira here. I love saying Pereira. Who was Finan Ferreira last week? I love those old Brazilian twangy names. But anyway, look, we all know what Alex Pereira is. He is the guy that has been sent in there to get another challenger for Israel Adesanya. That's what this fight has been made for. He has been ran up the ranks after a pretty unimpressive display against Bruno Silva. In his fight before that, he almost got joked out by Andreas Michailidis, who's, the worst division in the UFC. He's the biggest jobber in that division. No offense to Andreas Michailidis, but let's be honest there, that's what he is. And he almost got choked out in that fight. I know he's a brilliant kickboxer and all of that. Well, I don't know because I don't watch much of that. But anyway, we know he's a great kickboxer and he's knocked out Adesanya and everything like that. But he's also fighting Sean Strickland here, right? And Sean Strickland is a guy who, okay, he's not the best fighter in the world, a much improved fighter and a tricky fighter. And, a lot of people probably call him a boxer these days as well. But he still has 4 submission wins in his career, right? Never been submitted in his career. Going back and watching some of his fights, Sean Strickland can wrestle. He can take you down. He may seem like a really stupid guy outside of the cage, but inside the cage, this guy's really smart. He fights really smart fights. And do you think he's going to go in there and fight like a kickboxing match straight up with Alex Pereira? I don't think so. Maybe he'll fight more of a boxing match. Maybe he'll get in close and do it that way. But I just don't think he's going to give Alex Pereira what Alex Pereira needs to win the fight. And what I really do like about Pereira's game, he really bites his time and he waits for those big opportunities to get his finish or to land the more impactful shots which are going to win him rounds. But I think Strickland has such good cardio and never stops and keeps going for such at such a high pace, should I say, that he will give Pereira even less opportunities to kind of get those big impactful shots going, to get a knockout or to win to get land enough damage / impact to win rounds. So with that said, like all in all, I think Strickland wins this fight. I find it very hard to see how Pereira wins it. Now maybe Pereira will come out in the first 10 seconds and get a big knockout and knock him out, and everyone will be delighted because the Adesanya fight will be on and it'll be one of the most hype fights we've ever seen. Middleweight badly needs it. But I don't see that happening, honestly. I don't see it happening. I think he'll come in here, Sean Strickland. I think he will box him a little bit early, won't give him that many chances, will be putting on the pressure, will push him against the cage, will get takedowns. It's not like Pereira's learned this like almighty brilliant takedown defense in his 2 fights in the UFC. Like Adesanya ended up doing after the Wilkinson. When we've seen in PFL how good Wilkinson is. But he learned the great, the wrist control on one side and the overhook on the other side. The best takedown defense, in my opinion, against the cage in the UFC, Israel Adesanya has. Out from the cage, as we saw against Blachowicz, a little bit different. But I don't see that from Pereira. and he'll need that. Sean Strickland is not Colby Covington, or he's not Cameron Usman or anything like that, but he can wrestle. He's a well-rounded fighter. He can fight all around, and he can get inside as well, and I think land shots against the cage and in close against Pereira, which will probably win him the fight. So I'm going for Sean Strickland there. I'm very surprised with the odds. Really, really surprised with the odds there. Pereira is the favourite. Minus 123. Sean Strickland plus 103. It's close, but I thought that would be maybe minus 250 for Strickland. Maybe plus 150, 175 for Pereira. But that's not the way it is. And that is my first UFC bet of the weekend. Right, the next bet I'm going for here, it's Robbie Lawler. And funny I go, we had Rory MacDonald a second ago, and now we've Robbie Lawler, the two, I suppose, inextricably linked after their two great fights. Two great fights, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm mistaken. Let me look at the record here. It is 2 fights. Yeah, Rory MacDonald at UFC 189 before the McGregor Mendes fighting in Rory at 167, St. Pierre versus Hendricks. Both of which Robbie Lawler won. And Robbie bounced back in a fight. Maybe, Jesus, some people forget that Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz happened again. They did. Sherdog mistaken. No, he's here. It's down. It was a retirement in the third round, 44 seconds into it. And, Robbie obviously lost a couple of fights before that, but he lost by decision to Colby, lost by decision to Magny, was out of the cage for, around a year after both of those fights. And he lost to Ben Askren. He probably shouldn't have lost that way. And then obviously Dos Anjos, when Dos Anjos was Dos Anjos, that's 5 years ago now at this stage. But I thought Robbie looked good in that Nick Diaz fight. Now, you could probably say, okay, it's easy for Robbie to look good in the Nick Diaz fight, where Nick Diaz is at this stage in his career. But it was one of those fights where I watched it goes, look, I wouldn't mind seeing Robbie fight again. And I think Bryan Barberena is the perfect matchup here, and it's a good fight. Bryan beat Darian Weeks and Matt Brown last time out. He's a few losses to the likes of Luke and Randy Brown and Leon Edwards over the last while, and Colby going back a good while ago as well. But, I think it'll be an even fight, if I'm being honest. I think it'll be an even fight. The one difference maker, I think, here, and the fact that I've gone for Robbie Lawler, and, I don't normally go for minus money bets, but it's, it's basically a kind of a pick-em fight here, minus 120, not that far away. I think if you look at that last Matt Brown versus Bryan Barberena fight, I think if Brown maybe had the stinging power that Robbie Lawler can land at times, I think he probably would have won that fight. And there was a bit of controversy about it anyway. And did he win it? Did he not win it? And it was, not that he didn't land power shots, but I feel like Robbie Lawler is the type of guy as well, right? Who could take shots very well, and the shots that he lands just look more impactful than other people. And in a fight that I think will be 3 close rounds of more than likely boxing. Barberena does throw in a few takedowns, but we've seen over the last good number of years that Robbie Lawler's takedown defense, especially against this level of opponent, is very, very good. So I think he'll be able to stop the takedown, and I think he'll land big, impactful shots. I think another thing with this as well, the fact it's 3 rounds. A big criticism of Robbie in a lot of his 5-round fights, even when he was the champion and when he was fighting Hendricks and that, was he was maybe a little bit of a slower starter, and then he'd land the bigger impactful shots later. I think 3-round fights suit him, that he doesn't have to be worrying about going to the 4th and 5th round. He doesn't have to be worrying about keeping that cardio and holding his pace. He can go in there and let his hands go, and I think that will benefit him. And I think he will land enough impactful shots here on Bryan Barberena to win the fight, maybe even get the knockout. But yeah, I'm backing Robbie Lawler here. It's a big fight for him though, because if he loses to Barberena, it's probably the final signal of Robbie at this level of his career. So it's a massive fight, and there's pressure on that as well here. So yeah, I'll move on, and I'm going for Ian Garry next as my next bet, and I'm going for him to win by decision at plus 200. Now, Ian won his last fight by decision, and a lot of people were kind of cribbing about it and giving out about it, but I think a lot of those people maybe haven't watched all of the Ian Garry fights down through the years, in Cage Warriors and maybe don't know the level of fighters that he fought in Cage Warriors. If anyone saw Cage Warriors last week and saw James Sheehan and how good he was, Ian Garry beat him by unanimous decision as well. You know, and that win now looks better and better and better all the time because of how good James Sheehan is. And James Sheehan is a guy who I think you'll probably be seeing in the UFC in a couple of years if he keeps going in the same way he is. And he's, you know, Ian has gone 5 rounds, but he's got his big knockouts and he's got his submissions and he's got the wins that he needs to get. And I think performances like that at this stage of his career are a big thing for Ian Garry. And the reason I'm saying this, you know, on a betting preview is Ian is undefeated, and he wants, you know, to state the obvious, he wants to remain undefeated. And I think going in there against someone like Gabe Green, who, you know, has, with his eyesight now fixed and everything like that, he has this newfound confidence and a newfound kind of quality in his game, and not newfound quality, but an extended or lifted up quality in his game that I think will Sanford MMA and Ian Garry and all those guys will realise is dangerous. And I think they will fight a fight to win and a fight to not put themselves in danger again, which you should always do. And I just hope that criticism coming out from the last fight, which in my opinion was misplaced, and it was all criticisms that, oh, Ian Garry's, you know, only a hype train, Ian Garry is not what everyone is saying he is, where after a fight where Ian Garry dominated from pillar to post and won all 15 minutes, if that hasn't got to his head or the head of his team or anything like that, and I'm sure it hasn't, and he doesn't go out here looking for big knockouts early, and he fights the same sort of fight, a winning fight, a risk-free fight, I think he'll win the decision here. I think he's bigger, rangier, taller than Gabe Green. I think Gabe is open for a big shot. We saw it against Johan Lainez in that fight, a big shot down through the middle. And Ian Garry will land 1-2s down through the middle. And I think he'll catch Gabe Green a good few times throughout the fight. And I think he showed in that last fight. And maybe it's one of those fights, I think maybe people who don't look at the tactics and technique of MMA as much as others will probably say, that was like a boring decision win. But if you look at that, and you look at that performance, the ability to keep someone at the end of their jab for 15 minutes is a thing we can very rarely see in MMA. And how often do we see it from a guy who's 8, 9, 10 fights into his career? Very rare. So, say what you want about Ian Garry, go on, say he's a hype train and all of this, but he put on a very good winning performance, and I think he'll put on another very good winning performance here. And I think it'll be the same sort of intelligent, safer display, and that's why I think it will go to a decision, because I think Gabe Green is very tough as well. And I think he's a better fighter and is going to be improving all the time because of that eyesight, because of it changing, and because it will just be a kick on to his career. And I think he'll be game here. I think he'll be looking to take Ian Garry out. And I think I wouldn't say it'll be a close fight in my opinion. Now maybe it will be. I think Ian Garry will probably win all 3 rounds. And win it from the outside and, dominate the fight. Ian inside the distance is, Ian by a TKO KO is plus 300, which, is not a bad bet either, plus 700 as well. If people haven't watched Ian Garry in the past, he's a great man to throw in a few takedowns, and he has good jiu-jitsu, so I wouldn't put that past him whatsoever either. But I like the fight, Ian to win the fight by decision. I think it'll go longer, and that is my next bet for the weekend. Right, my flyer for this weekend, and it's not as big a flyer as it normally is. It's only plus 350, right? But my flyer for this weekend is Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway to end in either a split decision or a majority decision. Now, either fighter can win, but it has to be a split decision, majority decision. That's plus 350. Now, this is a very specific bet, and it's not the biggest price for a very, very specific bet. But if past his prologue and the other 2 fights that we saw are the prologue for this fight to play out in another very close fight, it absolutely could be a split decision. Now, the majority decision, maybe there's a draw in there, maybe there's a 10-8 or something, or maybe there's an eye poke and then a point deducted or whatever. But could you see this fight going and it's 48, 47, 48, 47, 47, 48? Could you see that in this fight? I absolutely could. And at 3.5 to 1 for that to happen, I really like that bet. Now, I know I was talking to my good friend Ian O'Neill, and he's going for Volkanovski to win in the same way at plus 500. So if you like that, and we'll get into the rest of the bets here in a second. If you like Volkanovski to win and you fancy him to win the split decision, plus 500, that's 5 to 1 to turn a guy who is, I think, just a slightly minus money favourite into a 5 to 1 bet. Might be a good way of doing it. I just think, and look, it's weird because I think I have an unclear vision of this fight and it's not an unclear vision of the fight. I have kind of two clear visions of this fight. I have the exact same fight we've seen twice before, right? And then I have like this vision of the fight where one guy kind of dominates the other guy. Now, that is just me kind of thinking maybe too much. So I'm pushing that to the side for a second because this is the betting show and this should be a reality. So I'm putting my dreams to the side for a second of one guy kind of learning more than the other guy from the first two fights and winning dominantly. And I think the reality of this will be a close fight. And I'm sitting on the fence here. I'm picking neither guy to win, but one guy to win by split decision at plus 350 for the flyer of the week. So if you like that, I like it. So let's get on that for the weekend. Right, let's run through some of the bets. So let's talk about PFL first. Rory MacDonald, as I mentioned, he is minus 300. Some places have a minus 360. Sadibou C is up around plus 250. Now, I was thinking about C for my flyer of the week. Too small of a price though for that. I think the bookies have that right. I think they just have it about right there. I was expecting it to be wider, if I'm being honest, and thinking about getting C in as one of the bets, but no, I think they have it right there. So I'm avoiding that one for this week. Apart from the over/under. You know what? Caitlin Young and Kayla Harrison. You can get it for anywhere from a 12 to 1 favorite to a plus 1480. Underdog here, for Caitlin Young, minus 3,500, minus 2,500-ish for Kayla Harrison. So if you fancy 12 to 1 on Caitlin Young on short notice to come in here and beat Kayla Harrison, by all means go for it. This is the sort of bet you get your fiver that you never ever want to see again. You put it on Kayla Harris, or you put it on Caitlin Young, and you might be very rich come Saturday morning. But I like Caitlin Young, not to win the fight. I don't like Caitlin Young to win the fight, don't get me wrong. But I like Caitlin Young as a fighter. A lot of people, myself included, were talking about the Julia Budd fight being the biggest test of Kayla Harrison's career. Well, Caitlin Young almost won that fight against Julia Budd, a year ago-ish? Not too long ago. I know she's 12-12 and won no contest, I think, or one draw or something in her career in 25 fights. But I think she's a better fighter than that. And she beat Cindy Dandois not too long ago, who's a judoka, and she was able to stay on the outside now, a judoka. Cindy Dandois, judoka. Kayla Harrison, judoka, are two very different types of judoka, don't get me wrong. But she proved in that fight she can fight on the outside. She can put on a display where she stays safe, doesn't get close, and outpoint someone, which is exactly what you need to do against Kayla Harrison. Now, can she do it? Will she do it? Probably not. let's be honest there, but I'm looking forward to seeing this fight because I think it'll be intriguing. I really do. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'm the only one on planet Earth, but I don't think Caitlin Young is as much of a jobber as people think. And I think she'll do okay. I really do. I think she'll give problems to Kayla Harrison a little bit. So there you go. Brett Cooper against Ray Cooper then. Brett Cooper is plus 400, minus 650 for Ray Cooper. Ray Cooper looked terrible in his last fight. Missed weight. We'll see how he gets on here. Brett Cooper's not great though, so I think it should be Ray Cooper's one there. Magomed Karimov is coming back here. He's minus 700. Jose Ferreno is plus 440. The betting for the submissions and stuff aren't up yet for that, but Zeffirino could be 20 to 1 to get a submission there or something. 15 to 1 maybe. That might be a bad one, but no, I do think Magomed Karimov will win that. I actually just heard this morning Gleison Tibau's out of his fight against Al-Sakin, so we'll skip over that one. Gina Fabian, she was one of the underdogs I was looking at again. She's plus 300 against Pacheco, minus 430. Fabian beat, who did she beat? Julia Budd last time out, if I'm not mistaken, and looked great in doing it. I like that plus 300, honestly. Pacheco will be a favourite, and she's very good. She's the second best lady in that division after Kayla Harrison, and I think she will win, but plus 300, that line is too wide for me. Montez then plus 128 against Makatina. I like Montez, but I don't know. I just don't think she'll be able to get the takedowns on Makatina that she was able to get in Clarissa Shields. Definitely not anyway, but it hurt her in her last fight, so I would probably go for Makatina in that one, who put up a good display against Kayla Harrison. Al-Shalawi then is plus 170 against Umalatov. That's the correct line there. I think Al-Shalawi's underestimated last time, and we saw what happened. Jandirova then is the big favourite against Amagul, and Koleshnik is a big favourite against Vanessa Melo as well. Plus 170 on Vanessa Melo. Not a bad bet. Right, then in the UFC, I avoided the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. I think Izzy, if you get Izzy below minus 400, I think that's a really good price, honestly, if you're throwing him into an accumulator or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how this fight will go, if I'm being honest, in terms of, I think Izzy will win, but I'm not sure how he'll win. Like, will he win the decision? And let's see the price on that one. Adesanya wins. So Adesanya wins by decision plus 125. Adesanya wins inside the distance plus 145. So the bookies are as splitting this as I am. Adesanya KO plus 160. So, you know, my good friend Andrew McGann's always talking about Adesanya winning via submission. So 14-1 to win by submission. Maybe that's the way. If you fancy Cannonier, if you like a flyer of the week, plus 500 for Cannonier. I don't see it, to be honest. I think Adesanya will win that fight. The over-under betting is the betting I was looking at, and I think it's pretty interesting. 3.5 rounds. Over 3.5 rounds, minus 145. Under 3.5 rounds, plus 115. Now, that is what would intrigue me, the under there. You're taking Cannonier's chances of a big knockout, but you're also taking Cannonier to get knocked out by Adesanya in the first 3.5 rounds. That's the line I would be looking at. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 160. That's a little bit small for my liking there. Under 1.5 rounds, plus 265. I'd avoid that. But I like that. Under 4.5 rounds, minus 103. I really like that, to be honest. But yeah, the one that would tempt me, the price that would tempt me is the plus 115 under 3.5 rounds there, because I think Adesanya will get him out of there. I think he'll just be too good. I think he'll be too dominant in that fight. Then we have obviously had Volkanovski, Max Holloway. The straight up betting there. Volkanovski is a minus 200. I think that's gone in the last couple, or gone out in the last couple of days. I don't think he was, I think he was minus 155, minus 160, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of days ago. Can I actually find that out? I think I can. Yeah. He started out minus 145 back in the 9th of May, and then a couple of weeks ago, he was minus 183. So yeah, it's come in an awful lot to be minus 200 now, plus 170 over Holloway. If you fancy Holloway to win that fight, and I wouldn't talk you out of it, plus 170 is a pretty good price. You know, the over 4.5 rounds, minus 260. A lot of people expecting it to go to a decision, obviously, there. So I don't think there's that much value in anything other than that. Volkanovski KO plus 350. That's a poor price for me. Holloway KO. Let me see if I can find it here. Is it there? Oh God, I don't see a Holloway KO. Yeah. Plus 575. I think Holloway nearly KO'd him the last time. So maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the value there. Pereira and Strickland, then we talked about that earlier on. Minus 123 for Pereira, the favourite, amazingly. Plus 103 for Strickland. Let's see Strickland by submission. Strickland by submission plus 900. Can I change? Can I go back and change? Can I go back and change my flyer? Pereira by submission. Not Pereira by submission. God almighty. Strickland by submission plus 900. Can I get a double flyer for this week? God almighty. Okay. I need like a double flyer. I'm going with 6 bets. John Brannigan, dial it up. I'm going to the TMO. I'm changing. I want 6 bets this week. I'm going for a second flyer, and I'm going for plus 900 Sean Strickland to win by submission. God almighty, that's an unbelievable price. Let me run through the rest of this. Love the fight, Brad Riddell, Jalen Turner. Turner is the favourite, which I had him as a favourite, but I didn't think the bookies would. So I that line is just about right. I think minus 135, minus 115. Sean O'Malley, minus 260, plus 220 against Munoz. I think that's right as well. I don't think Munoz is where he once was. My guy, Robbie Lawler, minus 120, plus 100 for Bryan Barberena. Ian Garry is the minus 165 favourite, minus 140 for Gabe Green. Cowboy Cerrone is the underdog, plus 180. I think he was bigger than that a couple of days ago. If I look at it again, he was only plus 195. So yeah, thereabouts. Minus 210 for Jim Miller. I'd probably fancy Miller on that one. Although I think welterweight probably helps Cerrone. So interesting. Andre Muniz is the bet enough for the submission in that one? It's not yet, but I'd be looking at that. Muniz is unbelievable on the ground. I think he will win, minus 280, plus 235 for Uriah Hall. Jessica Iden is plus 200. Macy Barber is minus 240. I was looking at a couple of bets on that as well. Macy Barber submission, 12-1. Barber then to win just inside the distance, plus 325. Fancy her by decision, it's minus money, minus 115, so I divide that. Jessica Rose Clark is the favourite against Ireland's own Julia Stoliarenko, who is plus 120, minus 140 for Rose Clark. Not Rose Clark, Jessica Rose Clark. And then Brad Tavares. That's a very interesting fight against Dricus du Plessis. Du Plessis is the favourite, minus 125, plus 105. Give me the over on that one. What's the over? Minus 125, fight to go to decision. I really like this fight to go to decision. Let's see what the price for that is. If I can find it, fight goes to decision, minus 125 as well. Yeah, I would probably bet on that, to be honest. So there are the bets for the weekend. I will run through them quickly again. Over in PFL, Sadibou C and Rory MacDonald under 2.5 rounds, plus 125. Sean Strickland to win straight up, plus 103. Robbie Lawler to win straight up, minus 120. Ian Garry by decision, plus 200. And then my 2 flyers of the week, either fighter to win by a split/majority decision in Volkanovski versus Holloway, that's plus 350. And I have to go. Can I throw it in? Sean Strickland plus 900 to get the submission over Pereira. Right, everyone, I will leave it there. Shout out to all the guys who are here over on Sherdog.com, Mike and John and all the lads do great work here and getting the video up and edited and everything. I really appreciate it. And shout out to everyone who's listened. Let me know your bet for the week. Everyone, down under, I'll be in the comment section. I'll be replying to you. I'll tell you if your bet is rubbish. I'll tell you if it's good. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I was dead wrong on Pam Sorensen last week. Let me know in the comment section below. Everyone here, if you're watching this, put your bet in the comment section. Put your money where your mouth is. Let's see who's right. Give it a thumbs up. Tell a friend. Tweet it out. @SeanSheehan, tag me. You'll get the retweet if you tweet out the link to this, and you'll get all the followers and you'll get all of that. Brilliant. And yeah, enjoy your betting weekend. Enjoy the fights. And I will leave it there. I'm Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.